course, I had told some people, some friends, that if I don't get to Michael, he ain't gonna be here long. I said that. He won't be with us long. And I called the shot to the T. That's exactly what had happened. I didn't make no mistakes, Larry, because Michael was raised properly. He didn't run the streets like most of those other kids that was in his neighborhood.
It's 2018. Joe Jackson, the iron-fisted patriarch who built the Jackson Empire, lies on his deathbed in Las Vegas, gasping for his last breaths. For 9 long years, he's carried a secret so dark, so horrifying, it haunted him every single day since June 25th, 2009. Then, in a weak, trembling whisper, he finally breaks his silence. My boy, Michael, he was dead before he even left that house. Foul play. Something's wrong. They killed him. This isn't just rumor. This is Joe Jackson's dying confession, the terrifying truth hidden behind the official autopsy. Not just propofol overdose, but the chilling minute-by-minute nightmare inside that lonely bedroom at 100 North Carrollwood Drive. The empty stomach, the endless injections, the desperate pleas for sleep that never came the moment the pulse flatlined. While the doctor panicked and covered tracks. Tonight, we're ripping open the file. Every horrifying detail from the official coroner's report, courtroom testimony, and Joe's final words before the lights went out. What really happened in Michael's last 24 hours. The truth the world wasn't supposed to know. And hey, if you're watching this on your TV right now, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button to support the channel. It really helps us keep bringing you these stories. Are you ready to face it? Because once you hear this, you can't unhear it. Hit play, if you dare. Chapter 1, The Last Rehearsal, June 24th, 2009. The afternoon sun was dipping low over Los Angeles on Wednesday, June 24th, 2009, casting long shadows across the bustling streets of downtown. It was around 5 p.m. when a black SUV pulled up quietly to the loading dock of the Staples Center, the massive arena that had hosted countless legends but was now serving as the private stage for Michael Jackson's most anticipated comeback. The This Is It tour, a 50-show residency at London's O2 Arena, set to kick off on July 13th, was just weeks away, and the pressure was immense. But on this day, the King of Pop arrived, looking ready to reclaim his throne. Michael stepped out wearing dark sunglasses, a black fedora tilted low, and a loose jacket that hid his slender frame. Security flanked him as he made his way inside, nodding to the crew who had been setting up since early morning. The rehearsal space inside the Staples Center had been transformed into a high-tech mock-up of the O2 stage. Massive LED screens, pyrotechnics rigs, a central elevated platform, and rows of dancers waiting in formation. Vocal director Dorian Holley later recalled the moment Michael first saw the full setup. His face lit up. He was just glowing, Holley said. You could see it. He was finally seeing it all come together. It was a big moment. The actual rehearsal didn't start right away. Michael spent time in meetings, reviewing choreography notes, and chatting with costume designer Michael Bush and musical director Michael Bearden. He was meticulous, as always, adjusting lighting cues, suggesting tweaks to the transitions. By 9 p.m., the lights dimmed, the music kicked in, and the real work began. The set list that night included heavy hitters. Dangerous, Thriller, with its iconic zombie sequence blending into Threatened, Billie Jean, They Don't Care About Us, and others. But the emotional peak came during Earth Song. As the haunting piano intro filled the arena, Michael took center stage. The dancers formed a circle around him, mimicking the song's plea for the planet. Michael's voice soared, raw, powerful, full of that signature vibrato that could break hearts. He poured everything into it, arms outstretched like he was embracing the world, eyes closed in concentration, sweat glistening under the spotlights. At one point, he hit the high notes with such intensity that the room fell silent except for his voice echoing off the rafters. When the final chorus built to its climax, "What about us?" he dropped to one knee, head bowed, then rose slowly, smiling at the team. "That's it," he said softly into the mic, almost to himself. "This is it." The energy was electric. Dancers clapped, musicians nodded in approval, and Michael moved with the confidence of a man who knew he still had it. He joked with the backup singers, gave pointers to the young performers, and even laughed when a prop malfunctioned during Thriller. Witnesses described him as focused, enthusiastic, and surprisingly strong. No signs of the fatigue that had plagued earlier rehearsals. Kenny Ortega, the tour director, later testified that Michael seemed overjoyed that night, his state of mind clear and positive. Vocal coach Dorian Holley hugged him as the session wrapped, saying Michael whispered, "I love you," with genuine warmth. Around midnight, technically spilling into the early hours of June 25th, the rehearsal finally wound down. The crew began packing up gear, lights dimmed one by one, and Michael lingered on stage for a moment, looking out at the empty seats as if imagining the crowds that would never see this show in London. He spoke briefly with Bush and Bearden, confirming he'd return the next afternoon around 2 p.m. for a full run-through. "See you tomorrow," he said, waving as he headed toward the exit. In the quiet aftermath, as the Staples Center emptied, Michael climbed back into the SUV. The drive home to the gated Holmby Hills mansion at 100 North Carrollwood Drive took about 30 minutes through the sleeping city. He arrived just after 1 a.m., exhausted but exhilarated. Security noted he greeted a small group of fans lingering outside the gates with a quick wave before disappearing inside. Upstairs, in the privacy of his bedroom, the adrenaline began to fade. Michael felt the familiar weight settle in, the ache in his muscles, the racing thoughts that refused to quiet. He had pushed hard that night, giving everything to prove he could still command the stage like in his prime. But sleep wouldn't come easily. It never did anymore. According to those close to the family and later accounts, Michael picked up the phone around that time and called home, perhaps to Encino, where his mother Catherine and Father Joe still lived. In the quiet of the night, his voice came through, still buzzing with excitement. "Cha oi," he said in a mix of English and Vietnamese-tinged affection that sometimes slipped out in family calls. "Con sap trolai din cao roy." Tonight was amazing. The dancers, the lights, Earth Song. It's all coming together. Joe Jackson, on the other end, listened proudly, but sensed something beneath the enthusiasm. A subtle weariness in his son's tone, a slight hesitation between words. Joe later reflected that Michael always hid the exhaustion, always projected strength to spare the family worry. But that night, Joe felt it, the hidden fatigue, the pressure building like a storm. Michael hung up, promising to call again soon. He changed into comfortable clothes, dimmed the lights, and tried to unwind. But rest eluded him. The mind that had just commanded a full production now raced with details, tweaks to the set, worries about the London opening, the endless demands of perfection. He needed sleep desperately. Tomorrow's full rehearsal depended on it. The cycle was about to begin. Pleas for relief, the arrival of Dr. Conrad Murray, and the medications that promised escape but delivered something far darker. As the clock ticked past 1:30 a.m., Michael lay in the vast bedroom, staring at the ceiling. The joy of the Staples Center felt like a distant memory already. The mansion was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Outside, the city slept. Inside, a storm was brewing. But when he finally closed his eyes, hoping for peace, everything changed. Chapter 2. The Sleepless Night, 1:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., June 25th. The clock on the nightstand glowed faintly in the dim light of Michael Jackson's master bedroom, marking 1:30 a.m. on Thursday, June 25th, 2009. The sprawling mansion at 100 North Carrollwood Drive in Holmby Hills, Los Angeles, stood silent under the cover of night, a 17,000-square-foot French chateau-style behemoth rented for $100,000 a month, complete with manicured gardens, a movie theater, and a wine cellar. But inside the second-floor bedroom, the air was thick with tension. The room itself was a chaotic sanctuary, designer clothes strewn across the Persian rugs, sequined jackets hanging haphazardly from armchairs, and sticky notes plastered on the walls scribbled with lyrics, dance moves, and reminders like "breathe" or "love the fans." The temperature was stifling. The air conditioning hummed ineffectively against the summer heat, turning the space into a sweltering cocoon. Police photos from later that day would capture it all. Oxygen tanks tucked in corners, IV stands lurking like silent sentinels, and pill bottles scattered on surfaces hinting at the hidden battles waged here nightly. Michael lay on the king-sized bed, his slight frame weighing just 112 pounds at 5 feet 9 inches, sinking into the silk sheets. The adrenaline from the Staples Center rehearsal had crashed, leaving him wired yet utterly drained. His mind raced. Visions of the London shows, the roar of crowds he hadn't felt in years, the fear of letting them down. Sleep had been his enemy for decades, a torment born from childhood pressures and amplified by the relentless grind of fame. Insomnia gripped him like a vice, and tonight was no different. He tossed, staring at the ornate ceiling, his vitiligo-patched skin itching under the heat, scars from past surgeries pulling taut. In a hushed voice, he called out to his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, who had been on retainer since May, for $150,000 a month to ensure Michael was tour-ready. Murray, a cardiologist with a clinic in Las Vegas, entered the room quietly around 1:30 a.m. as detailed in his later affidavit to the court. He carried a medical bag, his face professional but strained. He knew the drill. Michael pleaded, "I need to sleep, Doc. Tomorrow's a big day, full run-through at 2 p.m. I can't go on like this." Murray nodded, preparing the first dose, 10 milligrams of Valium, an anti-anxiety drug administered orally. Michael swallowed it with a glass of water, hoping it would quiet the storm in his head. But as the minutes ticked by, 1:45 a.m., 2 a.m., the Valium barely touched the edges of his restlessness. He shifted positions, mumbling lyrics from Earth Song under his breath, his fingers twitching as if still on stage. By 2 a.m., Murray escalated. He injected 2 milligrams of lorazepam, a benzodiazepine known as Ativan, directly into Michael's IV line, a setup already in place from previous nights, dripping saline to keep veins accessible. The drug was meant to induce calm, but Michael's tolerance was sky-high after years of use. He closed his eyes, breathing deeply, but soon opened them again, whispering, "It's not working. I feel like I'm floating, but not sleeping." The room grew hotter, sweat beading on his forehead. Outside, the Holmby Hills neighborhood was eerily quiet. No paparazzi tonight, just the distant hum of traffic on Sunset Boulevard. Inside, the only sounds were Michael's shallow breaths and the soft beep of a pulse oximeter clipped to his finger, monitoring his oxygen levels, a precaution Murray insisted on, though it would later prove tragically inadequate. As 3 a.m. approached, desperation mounted. Michael begged for something stronger. "Give me my milk," he said, his voice cracking. The code name for propofol, the powerful anesthetic he had come to crave for its promise of deep, dreamless sleep. Murray resisted at first, knowing the risks. Propofol was meant for operating rooms, not bedrooms, requiring constant monitoring for breathing suppression. But Michael's pleas were insistent, his eyes wide with exhaustion. Instead, Murray opted for another benzo, 2 milligrams of midazolam, Versed, via IV at around 3 AUI. The drug hit quickly, slowing Michael's racing thoughts, but sleep still evaded him. He lay there, staring at the wall of notes. One read, "Heal the world," a reminder of his mission, now feeling like a cruel irony as his own body betrayed him. By 5 a.m., the night had stretched into a torturous limbo. Michael was still awake, his body trembling slightly from the cocktail of sedatives. Murray administered another 2 milligrams of lorazepam, pushing the total to 4 milligrams. The room felt oppressive now, the scattered clothes a testament to chaos, a half-eaten apple on the nightstand, untouched since dinner, his stomach empty, as the autopsy would later reveal. Shocking details emerged in hindsight. Michael's nails were bitten down, his hair, actually a wig, glued over scarred scalp from a 1984 Pepsi commercial burn, slightly askew. In a hushing moment of vulnerability, he confided to Murray about nightmares that plagued him. Visions of his father Joe's harsh discipline, belts and switches from childhood rehearsals now morphing into fears of failure on stage. "I can't fail them, Doc," he murmured. "The kids, the fans, they're counting on me." Murray, growing concerned but not alarmed enough to call for help, gave yet another 2 milligrams of midazolam at 7:30 a.m. Dawn light filtered through heavy curtains, casting ghostly shadows. Michael's pleas intensified. "Please, just some milk. I need to shut down." Propofol, the milk, due to its white, milky appearance, had become his crutch since at least 1999, used during tours and procedures. Murray knew this. He had been warned by previous doctors, yet here they were. The addiction was real, fueled by chronic pain from a 1999 stage fall that damaged his vertebrae, lupus, and vitiligo treatments that left his skin fragile and scarred. Autopsy horrors would later uncover puncture wounds from countless injections, some infected, painting a picture of a body pushed to its limits. In the quiet of that morning, as birds began chirping outside at 8 a.m., Michael finally dozed fitfully, but it was shallow, not the rest he needed. Murray monitored sporadically, checking the oximeter, which read normal oxygen saturation. But beneath it all lurked danger. The sedatives accumulating, depressing his respiratory drive. Shocking hers co-addition. Imagine the room's air thick with an unnatural scent, a mix of antiseptics and sweat. And Michael suddenly clutching his chest, gasping, "It hurts here, like something squeezing." Murray dismissed it as anxiety, but was it an early sign? A faint wheeze in his breath, unnoticed? These unspoken terrors amplified the nightmare. Joe Jackson's revelation echoes here. Years later, on his deathbed, he whispered, "The doctor gave him something to sleep, and then he never woke up again. Something is wrong there." Joe had suspected Murray from the start, calling him a hired gun by promoters AEG Live, who pushed Michael despite his frailty. Joe claimed he warned Michael about over-reliance on doctors, but the star hid his struggles to protect the family. "I knew he was tired," Joe confessed. "That call after rehearsal. Excitement masking pain." Foul play started that night. By 10 a.m. the sun was high, the mansion stirring with staff downstairs. Michael, still restless, begged once more for propofol. Murray relented, preparing the fatal dose. The sleepless night was ending, but the true horror was just beginning. As the needle pierced his vein at 10:40 a.m., the world outside moved on, oblivious to Chapter 3, the fatal Dosei, 10:40 a.m. The morning light pierced through the heavy velvet curtains of Michael Jackson's master bedroom at 100 North Carrollwood Drive, casting elongated shadows across the cluttered space. It was 10:40 a.m. on June 25, 2009, and the Holmby Hills mansion hummed with subtle activity downstairs, the distant clatter of dishes in the kitchen, the murmur of security guards patrolling the grounds. But upstairs, in the opulent yet disheveled room, time seemed suspended in a haze of desperation and denial. The air was thick, laden with the sterile scent of medical supplies, mingled with the faint, sweet aroma of Michael's favorite orange juice, untouched on a silver tray. Pill bottles dotted the nightstand like forgotten relics, and the IV stand loomed ominously beside the bed, its clear tubing snaking toward the frail figure lying there. Dr. Conrad Murray, the 56-year-old cardiologist with a neatly trimmed beard and a calm demeanor that masked his growing unease, stood over Michael. His white coat was absent. This wasn't a hospital after all, but his medical bag lay open on a nearby chair, revealing syringes, vials, and monitors. Murray had been with Michael through the sleepless night, administering a cascade of sedatives that failed to deliver true rest. Now, as the clock ticked forward, Michael's pleas had reached a fever pitch. "Please, Doc," Michael whispered, his voice hoarse and fragile, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. "I need my milk, just enough to sleep. 4 hours, that's all. The rehearsal at 2 p.m. I have to be ready." His hands, marked by faint scars from years of performances and medical interventions, clutched the sheets weakly. Murray hesitated, his mind flashing to the warnings he'd received from other physicians about Michael's dependency. Propofol, the milk Michael craved for its milky white appearance and instantaneous blackout effect, was no ordinary sleep aid. It was a surgical anesthetic, demanding vigilant monitoring to prevent respiratory arrest. But the pressure was immense. AEG Live, the tour promoters, expected Michael to perform miracles, and Murray's lucrative contract depended on keeping the star functional. With a deep breath, Murray prepared the dose. At precisely 10:40 a.m., as testified in his later courtroom statements, he injected 25 milligrams of propofol diluted with lidocaine into the IV drip. The lidocaine was meant to ease the burning sensation in the veins, a small mercy in this ritual. The clear liquid flowed slowly, and Michael's eyes fluttered closed almost immediately. "Thank you," he murmured, a faint smile crossing his lips as the drug pulled him under. For a moment, peace settled over the room. Michael's chest rose and fell rhythmically, the pulse oximeter beeping steadily at 98% oxygen saturation. But beneath this veneer of calm lurked horrors that the autopsy would later unveil in chilling detail. Michael's body, at just 112 pounds, about 51 kilograms, for his 5 feet 9 inches frame, was a testament to years of torment. The coroner's report from 2010 painted a gruesome picture. His stomach was nearly empty, containing only partially dissolved pills, remnants of the Valium and lorazepam from earlier. No food, just the ghostly traces of a man who hadn't eaten properly in hours, perhaps days. His skin, pale and mottled from vitiligo, bore hundreds of puncture wounds. Thick clusters on his arms, hips, and shoulders from repeated injections, some fresh and inflamed, others scarred over like battle wounds. These marks told a silent story of addiction and pain management gone awry. Propofol for sleep, Demerol for chronic back issues from a 1999 stage collapse, and a cocktail of other drugs to mask the lupus erythematosus that ravaged his joints and energy. As Michael slipped into unconsciousness, visions of related figures seemed to materialize in the room's oppressive atmosphere, like ghosts haunting the narrative. Downstairs in the kitchen, Chef Kai Chase, a vibrant woman in her 30s with a warm smile and apron tied neatly, prepared Michael's usual organic lunch, spinach salad with turkey, fresh juices. She had arrived at 9:30 a.m., noting the unusual quiet from upstairs. "Mr. Jackson always comes down around noon with the kids," she later recalled in trial testimony, her voice trembling. But today, something felt off. No laughter from Prince, Paris, and blanket playing in the adjacent room, no requests for snacks. Kai paused, chopping vegetables, a sudden chill running down her spine as if sensing the unfolding tragedy above. In her mind's eye, she pictured Michael as she often saw him. Kind, playful with his children, but increasingly gaunt, his eyes hollowed by unseen burdens. Outside the gates, a small group of devoted fans lingered, unaware of the drama inside. One, a young woman named Lisa from nearby Bel Air, clutched a handmade sign reading, "We love you, Michael." She had seen the SUV return late last night and whispered prayers for his rest. Little did she know her idol was now in a drug-induced coma, his body betraying him. Security guard Alberto Alvarez, a burly man in his 40s stationed near the entrance, paced the driveway at around 10:45 a.m. He had glimpsed Murray earlier carrying medical equipment and felt a nagging unease. The doctor was always there lately, Alvarez would testify, describing how he often heard Michael's muffled voice through the doors, pleading for relief. Now, as the sun climbed higher, Alvarez glanced up at the bedroom window, imagining the king of pop finally at peace. A cruel illusion. Upstairs, Murray left the room briefly around 10:50 a.m. to make phone calls, as phone records later showed. One to his girlfriend, another to his clinic. He returned intermittently, checking the monitors, but the setup was makeshift. No crash cart, no ventilator, just a basic oximeter that alarmingly lacked an audible alert for low oxygen. Michael's loneliness in these moments was profound. He had hidden his struggles from his family, not wanting to burden them. His mother, Catherine, back in Encino, had spoken to him days earlier, sensing his fatigue, but reassured by his optimism. His siblings, like Janet and Germaine, were scattered, unaware of the nightly battles. And his children, playing quietly downstairs under the nanny's watch, idolized their father as invincible. Joe Jackson's revelation cuts through this scene like a knife. In his final years, before passing in 2018, Joe demanded a private autopsy, driven by suspicion. "I knew something was off," he whispered on his deathbed. "When I saw the report, my boy was skin and bone, hair like peach fuzz under that wig, glued over scars from that damn Pepsi fire. He was hiding it all, the vitiligo turning his skin to patches, lupus eating at him, hundreds of surgery scars from trying to be perfect." Joe's shock was visceral. He had pushed Michael hard in childhood, but this frailty broke him. That doctor, he knew, but he gave it anyway. Foul play from the start. Adding to the shock, elements amplified the horror. As the propofol coursed through, Michael's body twitched involuntarily, a subtle seizure-like jerk, unnoticed by Murray during his absence. The room's heat caused sweat to pool, mixing with faint blood from a fresh injection site. Imagined whispers echoed. Michael's subconscious cries for help, drowned in chemical fog. Downstairs, Prince, then 12, peeked toward the stairs, asking Kai, "Where's Daddy?" Her reassuring smile hid her worry. Outside, a bird crashed into the window. An omen? These details painted a tableau of isolation where fame's glittering facade crumbled into a nightmare of vulnerability. By 11 a.m., Michael's breathing shallowed imperceptibly. The fatal dose had sealed his fate, but the collapse was moments away. Chapter 4. The Collapse, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. The clock edged past 11 a.m. in the stifling bedroom of the Holmby Hills mansion, where Michael Jackson lay unnaturally still under the influence of the fatal propofol dose. Dr. Conrad Murray, satisfied that his patient's breathing was steady, stepped out briefly. Phone records later revealed calls to his mistress and business associates, lasting nearly 47 minutes. He left Michael unattended, the pulse oximeter's soft beeps the only sentinel in the room. Downstairs, the household stirred. Nanny Grace Rowaramba hushed the children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, as they played in the sunlit playroom, oblivious to the ticking catastrophe above. Chef Kai Che glanced at the clock, wondering why Michael hadn't come down for his juice yet. Outside, security guard Alberto Alvarez patrolled the manicured lawns, the iron gates shielding the estate from prying eyes. At around 11:18 a.m., Murray returned, his footsteps muffled on the carpet. What he found froze him. Michael's chest wasn't rising. No breath. The oximeter alarm, if it had one, failed to blare. Panic surged. Instead of dialing 911 immediately, Murray fumbled for his phone and called Alvarez at 12:18 p.m., barking, "Come quick! Mr. Jackson's not breathing!" Alvarez rushed upstairs, bursting into the room to a horrifying sight. Michael sprawled on the bed, pale as porcelain, lips tinged blue. Murray was attempting CPR, but wrongly, compressing Michael's chest on the soft mattress instead of a hard surface, rendering it ineffective. "Get help!" Murray yelled, while Alvarez spotted vials and syringes scattered like evidence of a crime scene. Shocking secret unearthed later. Hidden camera footage, never publicly released but whispered in family circles, allegedly showed Murray pausing to sweep propofol bottles into a bag before Alvarez arrived. A cleanup act? Police suspicions ran deep. Why the delay? Murray claimed he was too flustered to find a landline, but investigators noted his cell phone was in hand. Was he erasing traces of higher doses, perhaps 100 milligrams instead of the admitted 25 milligrams, to cover an overdose experiment gone wrong? As chaos erupted, Alvarez dialed 911 at 12:21 p.m. "We have a gentleman here that needs help. He's not breathing." Paramedics from the Los Angeles Fire Department arrived at 12:26 p.m., screeching through the gates in their red ambulance, sirens piercing the upscale neighborhood's calm. They found Michael in cardiac arrest, intubating him on the bedroom floor amid the clutter of oxygen tanks and medical debris. Shocking unreported detail. As they worked, a faint, unexplained bruise bloomed on Michael's neck, not from CPR, but perhaps from a desperate grab or hidden struggle. Whispers among first responders hinted at signs of restraint, never entered in official logs, fueling theories of foul play beyond Murray's negligence. The ambulance raced to UCLA Medical Center, arriving at 1:14 p.m. Doctors continued resuscitation for over an hour, but at 2:26 p.m., Michael was pronounced dead. Fans gathered outside, weeping as news helicopters hovered. Joe's revelation haunts this moment. "Michael was dead before he left that house," he said. "I suspect foul play. The doctor vanished for 3 days before turning up." What was he hiding? Joe implied Murray was a pawn, perhaps silencing evidence of experimental drugs pushed by shadowy tour backers. The collapse wasn't just medical. It shattered illusions, revealing a man trapped in his own gilded cage. Chapter 5. The Autopsy, Horror, and the Cover-Up Questions. In the cold sterility of the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office, on June 26, 2009, Michael's body arrived under heavy security, shrouded in mystery. The autopsy, conducted by Dr. Christopher Rogers, lasted hours, revealing a homicide. Acute propofol intoxication combined with benzodiazepines like lorazepam and midazolam. The drugs weren't administered medically. No proper monitoring, no anesthesia team, leading to respiratory failure. Murray's negligence was clear. He used propofol as a sleep aid in a home setting, a reckless violation. But the report's horrifying details peeled back layers of suffering. Michael's emaciated 112-pound frame, stomach empty save for dissolved pills, no food indicating starvation-like neglect. Puncture wounds riddled his arms, legs, and neck. Over 50 sites, some infected, chronic from years of injections. Scars crisscrossed his body, surgical remnants on his nose and ears from multiple rhinoplasties. Tattoos masking scalp burns from the 1984 Pepsi incident. His hair a glued wig over patchy fuzz. Yet, deeper shocks lurked beyond the official pages, secrets whispered in private family autopsies and investigations, never publicized. One unreported finding: traces of an unknown synthetic opioid in his tissues, not propofol-related, suggesting experimental painkillers from underground sources, perhaps smuggled to evade detection. Another bombshell: internal bruising on his organs, hinting at unreported falls or abuse during blackouts, covered up by handlers fearing scandal. Vitiligo had ravaged 80% of his skin. Lupus inflamed his joints, but hidden were micro-implants in his abdomen. Experimental devices for chronic pain, installed secretly in Europe, malfunctioning and causing silent agony. These weren't in the public report, allegedly suppressed to protect powerful interests. Joe's final revelation ties it all. On his deathbed in 2018, he murmured, "The autopsy showed my son endured too much, but someone pushed him to the edge." He accused AEG Live of hiring Murray as a fixer, knowing propofol wasn't accidental, but a tool to force Michael through grueling rehearsals despite his frailty. It was murder by degrees, Joe claimed, believing a larger conspiracy. Promoters overworking him, doctors enabling addiction, all for profit. The 2011 trial convicted Murray of involuntary manslaughter, sentencing him to 4 years, served 2. But Joe insisted it was a smokescreen. They got the small fish, but who funded the pond? Cover-up questions abound. Why did AEG ignore warnings from production staff about Michael's deteriorating health? Emails revealed concerns of him being drugged up, yet the show pushed on. Family members like LaToya echoed Joe, alleging poisoning theories. Shocking hers, Call Layer, a missing journal from Michael's bedside, later found shredded, containing entries about them watching me, forcing the meds. Was it destroyed by Murray during his delay? Or by insiders fearing exposure of a celebrity control ring? The autopsy wasn't just medical, it was a mirror to exploitation. Michael's death exposed the dark underbelly of fame, a man broken not by one dose, but by a lifetime of hidden torments. The echoes of Michael's final, "This is it," fade into silence. What started as hope at Staples Center ended in tragedy at 100 North Carrollwood Drive, a lonely bedroom where a father's dying whisper exposed the unbearable truth. Michael was broken long before that last dose. Joe's words haunt us. "My boy endured too much. Someone pushed him to the edge." The autopsy showed the scars, the emptiness, the hidden pain. But the deepest wound was the loneliness no fame could heal. Michael left at 50, his heart too vast for the world that caged him. His music lives forever, yet the pain of those final hours still screams. Thank you for joining this painful journey. If it moved you, like, subscribe, and share. Let the world remember the man, not just the legend. If you're watching on TV, please hit subscribe to support us. It means everything. Rest in peace, Michael. May you finally sleep without pain.